everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Keely Ogden, I'm a writer, and I am the Vampire Girl. We have been going through Dracula films and a stage play for the last 3 months. Well, it's all been building to this. Welcome to the triannual, biathlon, decathlon, triathlon, biannual, centennial Dracula Awards. This is absolutely the most intense, the most correct, and the most totally objective award show that has ever been created. And I know because I created it, which means that it's perfect. So without further ado, let's break down the categories. As we've been going through these Dracula adaptations, I have been scoring these movies on 3 different categories. Those categories are character, plot, and finale. As always, we will be starting with Bram Stoker's novel, and each major character in that novel will get a Best of award, the best version of them that shows up throughout all of these adaptations. I'll also be giving out awards for Best Adaptation, Best Horror Film, Best Romance, Best Writing, and Best Cinematography. If you've seen my last few videos, you'll know that I'm not the only person that's been creating this awesome content. I will once again have my amazing friend and roommate here as my beautiful guest host. Woohoo! All right, without further ado, let's move on to the categories. I couldn't talk about every category, every film, everything that they usually do at the Oscars or the Golden Globes because this is a low budget. I'm here by myself except for the voice in my head. So I did want to dole out some honorable mention. Honorable mentions go out to Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror from 1922 for its music. The music in this movie is absolutely incredible, and if you're a fan of orchestration, I highly recommend this movie. Honorable mention also goes to Bram Stoker's Dracula for its costume design. The costume design of this movie is so incredible that it's actually an award winner for it. Honorable mention also goes to Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror and Bram Stoker's Dracula for their incredible editing. Murnau did a lot of stuff in 1922 for Nosferatu that a lot of people weren't doing at the time. Bram Stoker's Dracula had all but 1 effects done practically, and that deserves a huge shout out and a lot of love. Special mention also goes out to Stephen Dietz's stage adaptation of Dracula for the way that it layers the different elements of Stoker's novel and for that fantastic introduction.
For the best writing in Dracula, we have the nominees of Dracula in 1931, Dracula in 1979, and the written play of Dracula in 19-something. So, in the category of the best writing, the winner is... it will be Dracula 1931. It was written by Todd Browning, Garrett Ford, Louise Bromfield, Dudley Murphy, and Louis Stevens.
The next category is Best Cinematography, and the nominees are Dracula, 1979, Nosferatu the Vampire, 1979, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, released in 1992. And the winner is Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992.
In this next category, it is Best Horror Film, and the nominees are Horror of Dracula in 1958, Nosferatu in 1922, and Dracula in 1931. And the winner of the Best Horror Film goes to Nosferatu in 1922.
In the category of Best Romance, the nominees are Horror of Dracula, 1958, Dracula, 1979, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992. And the winner is Dracula, 1979. We've been talking about adaptation for a while. It's what the last 3 months have been about. Now, here are how your scores stand, going from the least faithful to the most faithful. Again, these were all based on plot, character, finale, and a bunch of arbitrary bonus points that I gave the movies just because I felt like it. In last place, we have Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror with 64 points. Next is Horror of Dracula with 66 points. Then we have Bela Lugosi's Dracula from 1931 with 75 points. Next is the 1979 Dracula with Frank Langella, which has 76 points. Nosferatu the Vampire comes in with 78 points. The Stephen Dietz play adaptation gets 125 points. Then, the most faithful adaptation, coming in with a whopping 140 points, is Bram Stoker's Dracula, released in 1992.
The best version of Quincy is unfortunately the only one we have, would have to be Quincy and Bram Stoker's Dracula, because he's the only one that made it into a remake of a Dracula, and he is Babe. And he's also played by Billy Campbell.
Renfield is one of the most dynamic, multifaceted characters in the Bram Stoker novel. For Best Renfield, the nominees are Dracula, 1931, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, and the Stephen Dietz play adaptation, 1996. And the winner is Dracula, 1931. Renfield was played by Dwight Frye in that movie, and he perfectly captured Renfield's two-sided personality.
We've seen plenty of Arthur characters, but there has to be unfortunately one. So the nominees for Arthur would have to be Bram Stoker and Horror of Dracula. And the one that would take the cake is Horror of Dracula, because he actually had a character and he wasn't a crybaby. And he is also played by Michael Gough.
Jonathan Harker is the first man that we meet in the book, and so his on-screen adaptation is going to play a big part into the movie. The nominees for Best Jonathan are Nosferatu the Vampire, 1979, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, and the Stephen Dietz play adaptation, 1996. And the winner is Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, where Jonathan was played by none other than Keanu Reeves himself.
Dr. Seward is kind of a main character in the books, from what I understand. And unfortunately, he's not in a lot of remakes. So we do have a couple, and for those we have the Bram Stoker Dracula and the Dietz version. But the best one will have to go to, thank you, Dracula 1996 in the stage play.
Mina is our strong leading lady. Now, when I talk about Mina, I mean the Mina character, not necessarily Mina by name, because these adaptations like to break my heart and hurt my feelings. The nominees for Best Mina are Dracula, 1931, Nosferatu the Vampire, 1979, Dracula, 1979, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992. And the winner is Dracula, 1979. Kate Nelligan perfectly captures both the softness and the incredible strength of Mina's character.
Just like Mina, Lucy also gets her names mixed around, but Lucy is the bestest friend that Mina could have. And she is in some remakes of Dracula. And the nominees for Best Lucy will be Dracula 1979, the Dietz play, and Bram Stoker Dracula. But the one that is the best Lucy is the card. The best Lucy is Bram Stoker's Dracula, who was played by Sadie Frost, because let's be honest.
Van Helsing is Dracula's nemesis, so it's only fitting that he be played by an incredible actor. The nominees for Van Helsing are Horror of Dracula, 1958, Dracula, 1931, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992. And the winner is Horror of Dracula, 1958, where Van Helsing was played by the incredible Grand Moff Tarkin himself, Peter Cushing. Well, folks, it's come to this. Best Dracula. The Count has become one of the most adapted characters in all of literature, second only to Sherlock Holmes. This was the hardest category to judge. So many of these movies capture so many different elements of the Count's personality. Here's how it breaks down. The two Draculas that are least like the book are Count Orlok from Nosferatu: A Symphony of Horror and Count Dracula from Nosferatu the Vampire. I love you both, but you're not cutting it.
So these Draculas are on the lowest of the list. Well, not the lowest, but they're pretty down there. It's because they either focus on one specific personality trait of Dracula or they just completely change the arc. So we're going to start off with Horror Dracula 58, the stage play, which was written by Dietz in 96, and the Bram Stoker Dracula in 92.
That leaves us with two movies. The Bela Lugosi Dracula from 1931 and the Frank Langella Dracula from 1979. Now, which one of these incredibly powerful cape-wearing crusaders is the best Dracula? Well, the title of Best Dracula goes to Frank Langella from the 1979 Dracula. Langella captures Dracula's charm, his melancholy nature, the tragedy of his internal state, and his power, command of other people. Way to go, Langella. You've taken the cake, and you're one of the sexiest Dracula, so that doesn't hurt either. Thank you again, Miranda, for joining me, and thank all of you for joining me for the last 3 months of our Dracula marathon. You better stick around because there's a lot more vampire content coming, and we're hoping to do a lot more exciting things like this in the future. Stick around. Until next time.
See you later.
Bye, guys!
Bye-bye.
Homoerotic undertones?
So many.
So let me see if I can get the scores just off the top of my head. 64, 66, 75, 76, 78, 125, 140. Did I get it?
As your best friend, I'm saying you need a new hobby. Because yeah, that was correct. I think we need to take you on some quilting, some friendship bracelets, maybe some scrapbooking. Or...
You need friends to be able to make friendship bracelets.
No, you don't.